Welcome back, guys, to part 2 of the Minimalist and Ganondorf Amiibo run through the hero mode of the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD for the Wii-U. In the last part, we went through the first few days as Human Link. We did some work at the ranch, saved Tallow and the monkey, and then we started the first segment with Wolf Link, and we managed to escape the castle dungeon. In this episode, we're going to try and complete the remaining Wolf Link tutorials and arrive at the Forest Temple. The first thing that you'll have to do from here is go back to the village and get the Ordon shield and the Ordon sword. It actually doesn't take very long to get both of them if you know where to go. The longest portion of this Wolf Link segment is going to be the first Tears of Light mission that we're going to be doing shortly, but we'll get to that whenever we get to that. One thing to keep in mind as you hunt down the sword and shield is that the villagers can see you as the wolf. So be stealthy and don't go running in front of everyone, otherwise you'll either scare them off or cause them to attack you. The sword is the easier weapon to get, but we have to collect the shield first. Normally I don't really care for stealth segments in video games, but I don't mind this one at all because it's really short and it's also incredibly easy because there are only a couple of people out and about. Plus you don't have to start anything over again if you get caught. Really, the worst thing that could happen to you is getting attacked, and even that's not a big problem because you can easily outrun the villagers. As Midna just so kindly pointed out, we're going to have to enter that house back there through the window. And to get up there, we need to come over to this rock and then use Midna to jump on top of the roof. Up we go. Cross the roof and go over to where Haunch is standing at to scare him off. If you wanted to, you could summon a bird by howling right here, but there's really no need for that. Use Midna again to cross over to the house and then enter it. You'll only be in here for a few seconds. Just hop on top of the table and then use Midna to get up to where the shield is at. Stand back a little ways on the table before you make the jump, otherwise you'll hit the wall instead and then you'll have to redo it. I really hate it whenever Link messes up jumps with Midna. It doesn't happen all that often, but usually whenever it does, you'll have to climb back up a pretty good ways, and backtracking is rarely a fun thing to do in my opinion. As you just saw a moment ago, bash the wall a couple of times and you'll knock the shield down. Climb out of the upper window once you're done with everything here. The next place that we have to go over to is Russell's house. There isn't a whole lot that will get in your way as you go over there. Just stay close to the river and you should be able to run right past everyone. There will be some frogs and a cuckoo hanging out around this area. I wouldn't bother with them though, they don't really do much for you. Dig right next to those logs to sneak inside. Russell's house really needs some hardcore work done on it. I know that I personally wouldn't live in a home where a wolf or any other animal for that matter could get into it so easily. Grab the sword off the couch once you're inside and then exit from the same way that you came in. Alright, with that said and done, our next destination is to head back to the Twilight infested part of the woods, so we're going to go ahead and leave the village and start making our way there now. Remember one thing that caught me off guard whenever I first played this game is what happens whenever you beat up on a cuckoo. Normally if you keep hitting one in the other Zelda games, they'll eventually get fed up and summon an entire flock to attack you. But in this game you actually take control of the cuckoo that you were slashing and you can walk around as it. I've actually never really messed around much while playing as a cuckoo. I'm going to have to do that sometime and see if I can find anything neat. As you work your way back to the Twilight Realm, Ordona will call you over to the spring and you'll have to defeat a shadow beast. Ordona always came off as sort of a black sheep, or a black goat I guess, given that his appearance resembles an Ordon goat. But anyway, I always saw him as sort of a black sheep because whenever you're talking to Lineru later on, he explains that all the spirits of light other than Ordona were ordered to seal away the evil magic of the Dark Interlopers. Plus Ordona is the only one whose name isn't a reference to one of the golden goddesses. Not to mention the Ordona province seems to be one of the smallest areas in the game as well. From here just finish making your way back to the Twilight infested area. There aren't any enemies in your way, so just cross the bridge up ahead and keep going until you get there. I love how the Twilight infested areas just suddenly end in almost an exact box shape of sorts. I mean, you'd think that the edge of the infested area would look kind of foggy or cloudy or something, but instead it just looks kind of flat. We're just about ready to get the upgraded spin attack for the wolf. Just run straight ahead once you're back in the Twilight and you'll have to fight some more shadow beasts. Yeah, get used to fighting them because you'll have to do it a lot throughout this game. Every time that you defeat a group of shadow beasts, it'll create a warp back to that spot that you can use whenever you're Wolf Link. Once this battle starts, Midna will run off and leave you to fight alone. She'll eventually come back, and that's whenever the spin attack gets upgraded. There's no way to get past this particular battle until it's been upgraded, so just defend yourself until Midna decides to help out. This time you'll have to take out 3 of them. The trick to killing them off is to never leave one standing alone. So, for instance, say there are 3 of them like there are right here. You can knock one of them out and then finish off the other 2 with the same attack, and that would kill them all off for good. Or you could just kill them all with one big attack, that too. If you leave one standing, then it'll revive all of the ones that you've defeated, as you just saw a moment ago. Like I said before, whenever Midna returns, the spin attack will be automatically upgraded. Now whenever you charge it up, it'll create a dark circle around you, and anything that touches the circle will get attacked whenever you let go of the button. This is easily Wolf Link's best attack, and I love how much range it has. We are just about ready to start the first Tears of Light mission. Another change in this version is that you only have to collect 12 Tears of Light instead of the 16 that you had to get in the GameCube and Wii versions. I thoroughly appreciate that change because I was never really a big fan of these segments. Your objective for this part is obviously to collect the 12 Tears of Light, and to get them you'll have to hunt down the 12 shadow insects. You can only see them by using the wolf's senses, and they'll be scattered all over this entire area. Some of them will be underground and you'll have to dig them up, some will be flying, some on walls, some inside of a house, so on and so forth. Their locations are marked on the map, so keep an eye on that and you shouldn't miss any of them. Coming right up you'll see an insect dig its way to the other side of the locked gate. Don't be fooled by that. Instead you'll want to head over to Koro's house because there are 2 of them located there that you can kill. The tears will also restore your health, which is especially nice for this kind of run, although it's not all that special right now since it's still so early in the game. The insects in here won't come out until you listen to Koro, so use your senses and listen to them. The bugs all die in one hit to any of Wolf Link's attacks, so use whatever you want. I find it best to just use the spin attack on the grounded ones and then use the jump attack on the ones that are flying or stuck to walls. Once you've defeated them, exit the house and head back to the locked gate. I talked about this version's changes with the pose in the last part, and all of those changes are really nice, but there is one really big thing that needed to be fixed that they didn't mess with, and it's that there's no way for you to go between day and night at will. That always annoyed me in the GameCube and Wii versions because that made it to where you pretty much had to stop everything that you were doing every time the nighttime rolled around, and instead you had to shift all of your focus onto killing Poes. Otherwise you could end up being at the end of the game and still have a lot of them left to kill. Of course none of that matters if you don't care about 100% completing the game, and honestly the reward for getting all of them is not worth it at all, but it's still annoying for anyone who is trying to get 100% completion. I don't really see what their excuse was either. I mean, Ocarina of Time had the Sun Song, Majora's Mask had the Song of Double Time, Wind Waker had the Song of Passing, and in Skyward Sword you could find a bed to sleep on. So I'm sure that they could have come up with something to let you change between night and day. We're back at the big open meadow now, which is now covered in a thick poisonous fog. I think that this is probably my favorite part of this Tears of Light mission because of how much jumping you have to do with Midna in order to get around the area. I don't really like how the fog stays around once the mission is over though, mostly because I don't care for the part where you have to slowly make your way through it with the monkey in order to reach the forest temple, but I'll talk about that more later on. There are 5 bugs for you to kill throughout this section. Make sure that you kill the one that's on the wall near you whenever you first enter this area, and then you'll come across the rest of them as you cross over the fog. There really isn't much left of this mission. Like I said, we're basically just going to make our way across the fog, and then from there we're going to head to the spot where we saved Tallow and the monkey at. All of the bugs are located in spots where we won't have to go out of our way for them, so just kill them as you make your way over there. The last 2 insects in this area are located right by this gate. As soon as we finish collecting the Tears of Light, we'll be warped back to Faron Spring, and Link will be returned to his human form. From there we can go straight to the Forest Temple. The controls for Wolf Link feel a little more sensitive than the ones for Human Link and Epona. It's usually not a problem, but it does make it somewhat easy to turn too far sometimes. Go through the gate after you kill those 2 bugs and you'll be at the final area. There's not much going on in this area. There's just one group of shadow beasts to defeat, as well as the last 2 shadow insects. It's too bad Wolf Link doesn't get any new skills or abilities like Human Link does as the game goes on. He's already at a disadvantage with how he takes double damage, so I think it would have been nice to see how they made up for that. I'm not really sure what all they could do, but it still would have been kinda cool to have other ways to fight enemies as the wolf. The last 2 bugs are at the end of this path, so just go straight ahead and finish them off. Once you've collected the final tier of light, you'll automatically be taken back to Pharaoh's Spring and Link will be wearing the hero's clothes. You may have noticed that there's a light spirit located here. As you can see, that's actually the monkey that got captured with Tallow earlier. Unfortunately, we can't really talk to her since she's technically in the light world and can't see us. I do like how she reacts to the bugs seemingly dying out of nowhere whenever you kill them. I like how she knows that someone somehow defeated them instead of her just thinking that they died out of nowhere. Alright, with the Tears of Light mission now finished, we can finally start making our way to the Forest Temple. There's no real reason to go back to Ordon Village, so just head straight down the path towards the long tunnel whenever you're ready to progress. This is the part of the game where I start to get more interested and excited about playing because the tutorials are finally finished, the training wheels have been taken off, and it's time to tackle the first dungeon using everything that you've learned up to this point. The gate's been locked again, as I'm sure you noticed back there, so make a quick detour whenever you get there and talk to Koro to get the key to unlock it. He'll also offer to sell you another bottle with lantern oil for 100 rupees, which we obviously can't take since it's against the rules for this run. Throughout the next 3 dungeons or so, the game is going to be going at about the same pace. Pretty much what you'll do is you'll complete a dungeon and then you'll go through a little bit of story, and then after that you'll complete a Tears of Light mission, and then finally you'll clear the next dungeon in line. While I'm not a big fan of collecting the Tears of Light, I'd still rather do those over the tutorials any day. Don't bother filling up your lantern's oil, and don't worry about trying to save what you have for now either. I'll explain why in just a minute. For now, let's just make our way through this tunnel that you should be oh so familiar with by now. You don't even really need the lantern for this tunnel anyway, but of course it does help you see a little better if you did want to use it. Don't even bother stopping to fight the Deku Babas or the Keys. Just run right past them and you'll get through the tunnel in no time. And now is the reason why I recommended not filling up the lantern. Once you get back to this field, pull it out and the monkey will come and take it from you. She'll tell you to follow her and she'll guide you through the fog while swinging your lantern around to get rid of it. You'll get the lantern back once you cross through it, but it'll be completely out of oil, regardless of how much you had in it. So yeah, it's totally pointless to fill it up before doing this part. This segment takes a few minutes to get through because you have to go at the monkey's pace and she takes a little bit to remove the fog in each spot that she stops at. Occasionally an enemy might try to attack you, but they're all easily dealt with. Since this part is going to take a little while, how about some Twilight Princess trivia? I've even got a small list right here for me to peek at since this area is so slow-paced. Okay, number 1. This is actually the very first Legend of Zelda game that does not have Octoroks. Number 2. Twilight Princess has the second highest amount of heart pieces to collect with a total of 45, which is second only to the 52 that you can collect in Majora's Mask. Part of that is because you have to collect 5 heart pieces in order to complete 1 heart container, which, believe it or not, I actually kinda like that. Number 3. The title music for this game and the original Legend of Zelda have some similarities. Give them both a listen to and you'll see what I mean. Number 4. There was originally going to be a magic meter in this game, but it was eventually removed. If you look at the back of the Wii version's case, you can see it in one of the screenshots. I usually really like it whenever Link has a magic meter, because that usually means that he'll get some pretty awesome spells, but this game doesn't really have any items that would utilize it. I can only really think of one magical-based weapon, and it's the Dominion Rod. And having an entire magic meter for just one weapon isn't worth it at all. Plus you get it fairly late in the game anyway. I have read that some unused text that was left in the game hinted that Link would have needed magic in order to transform into the wolf, which would have been a really stupid decision in my opinion, and I'm really glad that they didn't go through with that. Number 5. This is the first Legend of Zelda game where Link's musical instrument is not required in order to beat the game. His instrument in this game is the horse call, which honestly is almost just a novelty item by the time that you get it, since you can warp pretty much anywhere that you would need to go. Alright, we're finally through the fog. Be sure to grab your lantern whenever you regain control of Link and then head through the gate. There's only a few bokoblins to deal with in the next area. You gotta love how stupid enemies can be sometimes. Most of the enemies throughout this portion of the game don't even try to stop you. I guess that's to be expected though, since it's still so early. There's a shop in this area that's run by a bird named Trill. Go there to refill your lantern oil. You're supposed to pay him for it, but you don't actually have to. Just fill up your lantern and then run away before he can attack you for stealing. I mean, it would be kinda lame to see the hero of time get killed by a bird of all things. There's just one last thing that we have to do before we reach the Forest Temple, and it's coming right up. Just head down this path to meet up with the Golden Wolf, and then get ready to learn the one and only hidden skill that's allowed for this run, which is the ending blow. This takes me back to what I was saying earlier about how I think that it would have been nice if Wolflink could learn some new fighting techniques as well. It's obvious that they programmed in a finishing attack for him because you see him perform it whenever you finish off a Poe. So why not just let him learn the ending blow as a human and then let him do it any time as a wolf as a counterpart to that move? I guess it would have been too violent to see the wolf gnawing at the enemy's stomach, but still. One thing that I kinda like about this game is that it's the first time in the series where two different Links interact with each other. And no, Four Swords and Four Swords Adventures don't count, because that's technically the same Link split into four in both of those games. The hero's spirit that you see right here is supposed to be the Link from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, so it's actually an entirely different Link, and I just think that that's kinda cool. I like the scenery here with how everything is so bright, and the castle in the background also looks kinda cool. Now that I think about it, since the hero's shade is supposed to be another Link, I think that this also makes it the first time that we see a Link talk, outside of the player selecting for him to say like yes or no to certain questions, of course. We've now learned our only hidden skill for this run, and it's time to finish making our way over to the Forest Temple, which is just up ahead. You have to have some oil in your lantern in order to enter it because it'll be blocked by a web. So if you didn't fill it up at Trill's store before, then be sure to do it now. Kill off the two bokoblins that are guarding the entrance whenever you get here, and then burn the web and head inside. And Poop Snake. I just realized that I completely forgot to scan the Ganondorf Amiibo after I turned back into human Link. Well, crap. Well, I guess it really doesn't matter because I haven't taken any damage since then, so it wouldn't have made a difference anyway. I will be sure to scan it from here on out, though. In any event, I think that this will make a good stopping point for now. We've made some pretty good progress. We finished up the Wolflink segments and we managed to get to the first dungeon. In the next part, we should have no problem completing this temple. Whatever the case, though, that is it for part 2.